places around US and Canada specifically is still locked up. And yeah, just to know about that, and obviously you guys have been watching this unfold. But it's interesting how a couple weeks ago, it's illegal to open a business, illegal to go to church, illegal to get together in Toronto. People wanted to go to the parks, and now they have these crazy little circles in the parks where you can only sit in the circles, and it has to be a certain amount of people. And then all of a sudden, this event happens in the US, and people are protesting in huge numbers, and it's okay. And they were making statements I've seen on the news and some of the American stations that the health officials say it's okay to protest for social justice, but it's not okay to protest and gather in protest of a coronavirus, a lockdown that many people says infringes on people's rights. So I think it's interesting. And then some people in the States, they're opening up racetracks saying it's a peaceful protest at the racetrack. So, right now it's a crazy time we live in. Who's interpreting what is being said and for what purpose. For some reason, I can't even share this on Facebook. Okay, we're going with what we got here. What did I want to talk about? Okay, so first thing, like when you start watching all these videos and sort of getting drawn into some conspiracy theories, some of the politics, you start reading into a narrative. And it's interesting how your mind can start trying to search that out or believe everything is like that. So for a perfect example, for me, good morning, Don. I saw in the US a lot of these videos of pallets of bricks showing up and just being left on the streets in the middle of these riot zones, and the police are letting these things unfold. And it looks like they're trying to destabilize. And I'll talk about defunding police in a second. And then I see a video of police officers in Toronto picking up all these rocks, what seems like out of bushes, and putting them in a pile on the sidewalk. And my first reaction was, I can't believe police got caught doing this so they can have rocks ready for rioters to throw. That was my initial reaction. I shared it around to a few friends. Said, this is crazy, look at this. And then one of my friends put me in check. He's like, oh, and he gave me this funny response saying that, it could have been Obama, it could have been Antifa, it could have been this, it could have been that, just basically saying all these ridiculous possibilities, which made me myself check into all the different possibilities that it could have been. Maybe they were actually just picking up the rocks and getting them ready to take them out so that there wouldn't be there for protesters. Maybe they were getting them ready for protesters. There could have been 100 different answers that fall somewhere in between, but not necessarily the one that I wanted to believe, because I thought, you hear about these riots coming to Toronto and they're boarding up all these stores. Who's getting this information? What do they know? It seemed like they were pretty peaceful. After all, they weren't that crazy. But now I hear these crazy things about how they're calling for defunding the police. Now, police brutality, in my opinion, is a thing. I think that the media will portray it a lot more than it is. But I'm sure there's instances that we don't see videos, that not everything's videotaped that's happening. And I think that's a big problem. But I just want to understand, when people think that defunding a police, so taking more police off the streets, is going to make an area with crime safer, have less crime. There's some places that have done this and it's actually backfired. So, everyone's upset. Everyone's saying fuck the police, let's defund the police. You get all this pressure. So let's take the police out. And the people who are saying this, the governors, the people who have money, they're going to have private security and police. Who's not going to have it? The suburbs, these poorer areas. And what do you think is going to happen? A lot of these people have guns and weapons. You can have vigilantes, you can have militias, you can have little mobs, places that people know there's no police. Maybe other people might go there to create violence. It can get crazy. What I think is really needed is more education, more training, emotional intelligence for police, how to diffuse a situation differently, how to sort of support other police officers that may be making wrong decisions, and being openly able to sort of speak to them in these situations. Where's that training? How come cops don't have to have these emotional sort of intelligence? I think that's a big issue. I think, there's a lot of police that have great intentions, that are doing an amazing job. with the media. There's something going on with the media that's trying to like get people angry. So, when you're watching something, and it's making you feel a certain way, I want you to ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Is this being shown to me to get me to react, to say something? So, to talk a bit about George Floyd, and this whole video here, these are my opinions. I'm not qualified to talk about any of this shit. This is just what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking. The whole George Floyd thing's a lot of conspiracy shit around the internet. Was it staged? Was it real? Is he still alive? And I'm not trying not to buy into any of that stuff. But I did see an interesting video that really broke the internet, got over 100 million views. Her name is Candace Owens, kind of controversial. I'll invite you guys to watch it yourself. She brings up a lot of statistics about, and I'm seeing a lot of people come forward and speaking about other issues like Black on Black violence, other lives mattering, Black lives mattering. And yes, I think racism is a thing in America, in North America. I don't want to really get into the white privilege thing. I think it does exist, but I think we might be looking at it the wrong way also. And I can answer that also. But where I was going with this was, one thing I found interesting was she calls out George Floyd as not being someone that they should be creating a hero out of. There's so many other amazing people in the Black community that can be heroes, and saying he was a criminal. He had this crazy criminal history. He held a pregnant woman at gunpoint, held a gun to her stomach. There was fentanyl in his bloodstream at the time of death. And, these things bring up feelings. How do you feel when she's saying this? You're like, why are you saying this? You're Black. Why you're not supporting him? Everyone's allowed for their opinion. And sort of what I got out of it was, not trying to judge George Floyd, but really seeing the fact that, she was calling him out, calling him a drug addict, and he's making these choices. But what people don't realize is that most people don't choose to be drug addicts. Most people don't choose to take drugs. The reason why they are in these situations is because they came from a very broken home. They had a lot of trauma in childhood. They weren't probably in the safe situations their entire life. And, creating these environments where people are growing up, what kind of adults do you think they're going to be? Adults that are making right choices, or adults that are just trying to do whatever to ease their pain, to survive? And I think what really needs to be looked at is look at these marginalized communities and the crime rates that are in there. Look at the Native communities. Not a lot of people are talking about this, but like some of the poorest areas in the nation with the highest crime rates are Native. If you look at white neighborhoods that are very poor, there's a lot of crime, a lot of violent crime as well. And so my question is, okay, so let's defund the police. Let's get, all white people to, I've seen some videos of people kissing people's feet and doing these crazy things. We don't want to stand beside someone. I want to hug them. I want to talk to them about how we can create a solution. I think getting people to feel shame because they're white or Black or any color and that it represents the whole is not the wrong way to do it. But what happens next? How do we fix this? So we all say sorry, and then we defund the police and we go back, and what's going to happen? You think things are going to get better, or things are going to get worse? I think we got to start talking about what is the long-term solutions. Like how do we educate people? How do we sort of come into community and see each other as brothers and help people that are in worse situations than we are? Because I think poverty is the problem. I think this dividing class of the Jeff Bezos getting super rich and the Donald Trumps of the world. And I'll put Donald Trump in here too. Everyone thinks I'm a Trump supporter, but I think the problem is this capitalism. And if you want to go even further, you look at laws like you want to look at laws like minimum mandatory sentences for things like the drug war is crazy. A Black father gets caught with smoking marijuana, a plant that makes him happy. They put him in jail for a life sentence. Like, are you kidding me? What do you think is going to happen to those kids? That are already living in a poor, marginalized community. That there's a lot of violence. There's a lot of bullying. There's a lot of things, and they have to grow up and harden themselves to sort of protect and survive. And that is true for all of these communities. So when you look at the prison system, I didn't know this, but the governments, the states sign contracts with the prisons guaranteeing a certain fill rate. It's crazy. So now it's like, okay, we need to fill up these prisons, and there's like bonuses and shit like that. It was just totally crazy. And we're not rehabilitating them. It's like, again, it's like going back into slavery. Just put people that did something wrong, put them in slavery. And now you look around the world, and you look at, there's all these people in the United States that are in jail. They're in jail for nonviolent drug crimes. So all these people that are doing drugs because they've come from trauma, because they're trying to ease their pain or whatever. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but you're putting them in jail. And now we're selling weed. Corporations are selling weed. There's there's these crazy huge profit opportunities for a lot of rich people that are making money off all of these so-called drugs, when there's people still in jail away from their families, fathers that are not being able to be a parent to their child. What do you think is going to happen to those kids? How do you think they're going to grow up? Are they going to be challenged, or are they going to be, everything's going to be fine? I think it's the other. So the family unit is so important, that we need to sort of come back to community, come back to family, supporting each other, educate, end the drug war immediately, this war on drugs for possession. And I think people that have possession instead of going to jail should be going to some sort of rehabilitation. Like, why are you feeling the need to have drugs? What emotional traumas are you dealing with? Maybe they need to drink plant medicine, ayahuasca, psilocybin, all of these things that are showing that doing a couple times can stop it. So anyways, I think I went on a bit of a rant here. And if I offended anyone, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to speak from the heart. I believe racism is a thing. I believe more hate is not the answer. I believe many people out there, they're not showing this in the media, want to peacefully resolve these things, want to help each other, lift each other up. These riots, they're burning Black communities, they're burning Black businesses, white businesses. It's nothing about protesting George Floyd. When you go to violence, that has nothing to do. More violence does not fix a violent act. It does not. So we need to come together, all the communities that are here. And, like, what you can do is, how do you show up in your community? How do you sort of talk to people? How do you communicate? And it's important that also not being afraid to voice your opinion because of where you're going to be put on this political bullshit that's going on right now. A lot of people are afraid to say certain things because, if I agree with what Candace Owens said, now I'm a Trump supporter. No, you don't have to be a Trump supporter because you agree with one thing one person said, or if I agree with something what someone else said. Not to be afraid of, now you're a Democrat, now you're a Republican. It's like, no, I want to speak the truth. I agree with this, I don't agree with that. So we need to really, really sort of not be afraid of how we speak, because we're going to be put into a box. You're going to be a this, you're going to be a that. So speak your truth, come from the heart. Try to check yourself for confirmation bias, and just really be open, allowing other people to talk. That's why I post most of the things I do, because I want people to challenge it. I want people to show me a different perspective. I shared that mouse on the spaceship video, and a lot of NASA deniers and stuff like that are saying, oh, look, there's a mouse on there. And so I shared it, and then other people show me different angles of it. Oh, look, it's just debris. Here's it very clear. If you take that one sort of clip of it and you put it on there, you're like, oh wow, how can there be a mouse at 13,000 miles per hour? It's the same thing with everything that's going on right now. You take one clip and you try to make an opinion based on this small incident and say that this is the real picture. You're not getting the full story. And now with the internet, everyone's giving their opinion. Everyone's saying, hey, let's look at all the perspectives here. Let's look at, are they fueling more racism because they want us to fight more? Because reminding people of the bad all the time, psychologically, it starts programming you. It starts putting in your mind, this is the way it is. Instead of saying like, hey guys, like, how do we create a solution out of here? How do we create the solution? What are we trying to create? Equality, rather than showing on the media all the time violence, 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 violence. People get upset. Lock them up in their house for 2 months, let them loose, and they're bailing out violent protesters, putting them back on the streets. Why would we do that? I don't see any peaceful protesters. Well, maybe there are. I don't know. I don't know exactly, but bailing out protesters for me is saying like, we justify that this is a good thing. People have the right to protest. There's a lot of amazing peaceful protests, like the one in Toronto. The violent stuff is like, we have to end that immediately. There's no place for that. That does not solve anything. So I don't want to talk about Antifa and all these other things that's going on right now either. Just think it's crazy that riots and protesting are okay, but opening your business, opening your community spaces is not okay, because I think that's what people need right now. That's it, guys. That's it for today. My rant is over. Thank you guys so much. Send me some posts, anything that I said. If anything that I said offended you or triggered you, or you want to have something you want to show me or a video, please send it. I'd love to look at it. I'd love to share more about it next week when I do these lives every Monday. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for all the comments here, guys. Yeah, I think what's happening now is we have a mass awakening. People are waking up to a certain group of people trying to sort of separate and divide us. There's financial division, there's race division, there's all these things, but we have to see through it. We have to live from our hearts. We have to connect with each other, support each other. And I think the future is bright. I really believe that this is like a big ceremony that's happening right now. And part of the purging process is all this has to come to the surface. All these things we've experienced for all these years, thousands of years, hundreds of years. It's okay, we're ready to go beyond this. But now we got to feel it, we got to see it, we got to speak it out loud, and now we got to sort of put it away and help all of our brothers and sisters. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'll see you guys next Monday, Thursday Night Breathwork. Tune in, and much love. Peace.